OTAs are finally back and the Philadelphia Eagles have kicked off phase 3 of their off-season workout program, which means for the first time this off-season the full 90-man roster is competing together on the same practice field. But this led me to wonder, how does this roster compare to the one that of course went all the way to Super Bowl 52 and brought that first championship home to Philadelphia? Howie Roseman has put together an off-season like no other. Smart free agents, a masterful draft and the occasional trade have helped the Eagles sustain that impressive level of talent that runs throughout the Eagles roster and has done since Doug Peterson's arrival. But how does it compare to the Super Bowl 52 champions? My name is Liam Jenkins and that's exactly what we're going to find out today. But before we get started, guys, make sure you leave a like and hit subscribe if you're new around here and enjoy what we do. I can't thank you enough for helping us reach 10,000 subscribers. It's genuinely mind-blowing. There's going to be a big special video coming out soon. You can vote for what kind of video you want to see at my Twitter page at LiamJenkins21, and don't forget you can get your daily dose of Philadelphia sports coverage from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. I decided to take the angle of how the roster looked before the season. What players were available to the Eagles during the off-season in comparison to those fighting to make the team now. If we didn't do this, then you'd have the Jay Ajayi move, which of course completely changed the complexion of the backfield. You would have in comparison, for instance, the Golden Tate trade last year. It just doesn't quite fit a fresh off-season build, which is what we're trying to evaluate here. So let's start off with quarterback. In 2017, the Eagles had Carson Wentz, Nick Foles and Nate Sudfeld, who back then was poached off the practice squad. In 2019, the Eagles have Carson Wentz, Nate Sudfeld, Cody Kessler and Clayton Thorson, who presumably as of right now would be jumping onto the practice squad. We start off with a very glass half empty, glass half full kind of debate. Would you rather have a quarterback position primed for the future or one that's primed for instant success if your starter goes down? Losing Nick Foles was a huge blow, but the development of Nate Sudfeld has been really encouraging. His progression from what we saw with the Redskins and at Indiana to the confidence portrayed last preseason is night and day, as shown in our film rooms on this channel. But is he ready to be dropped in the deep end during a crucial Week 13 matchup? He may not have to be. There's a slight chance that Cody Kessler could sneak onto the roster and somewhat alleviate that strain, given that he now has over 16 games worth of starting experience at the NFL level, despite being just 25 years old. He may not ever replace Sudfeld, but the battle between the two will be interesting as it gives the Eagles a fringe starter to grade him against. As of right now, the edge goes to 2017. Wentz is now coming off his second consecutive season-ending injury, which will unfortunately carry question marks until proven otherwise. The experience and calmness that Nick Foles brings to any situation almost built up this unbreakable shield when he entered the game. The younger quarterbacks just don't have that yet, and in a worst case scenario where we have to look at that to really evaluate the position, I think the 2017 positional group has this one, so it's 1-0 to the Super Bowl champs. Let's look at running back then. Let me start by reminding you again that Jay Ajayi did not arrive on the scene until late October, so it would be unfair to grade a running back group saved by a mid-season trade against a fully healthy and recently built equivalent. There was a significant amount of promise around the 2017 lineup, but Smallwood hadn't really shown too much during his rookie campaign. Clement was an undrafted free agent and Sproles was set to play a key role. Can we just not mention Donnell Pumphrey, please? The 2019 backfield looks a lot more dangerous. So you get a younger, bullish running back in Jordan Howard who will replace what Blunt brought to the table and then add some extra juice as well, while the idea of second round selection Miles Sanders just adds that extra sprinkle of promise and elusivity. Even with Ajayi in the fold, I think the Eagles have a much clearer direction with this current roster. You've got guys who are clear starters, rotational pieces, 3 down backs, and then you've got the guys jostling out for a return role. So the direction's clearer. I'm giving this one to 2019. It's 1 apiece. What about the offensive line? The 2017 group and the 2019 group are clearly very, very similar, but this is very interesting. Yes, the Brandon Brooks injury is important, as is the age of Jason Peters and Jason Kelsey, but this unit once again has so much more direction. It's really quite enthralling to see the fundamentals of a position 1 year and 2 years down the line, to see the next building blocks placed down as opposed to being taken out by a whirlwind. A first round pick in Andre Dillard, a versatile 5th round selection from 1 year ago, and of course the presence of Jordan Mailata all factor in here. I'm not sure how the Eagles are going to carry all of the players listed, but that's definitely a good problem to have. All 5 of those Super Bowl winning offensive linemen return, and then you've got a first round selection and some developmental depth as well. This is 2019 hands down. It's 2-1 to the current roster. If we're to look at tight end though, this is another tricky one. If not for Dallas Goedert's 2018 breakout as a truly dominant red zone weapon, then this position would be a clear win for the 2017 grouping. The Eagles sorely missed 13 personnel packages last year due to the injury of Richard Rodgers, and Joshua Perkins failed to make the most of his opportunities when put on the field early on. On one hand, you have the fact that Dallas Goedert's 334 yards and 4 touchdowns certainly outshine what Burton brought to the table, but then you have to take into account the way in which the tight ends were used. In terms of a unit I'd want to build around, it's a very narrow edge to the 2019 group, given the contractual breathing room of a lethal red zone target in Dallas Goedert, but this is providing Richard Rodgers can develop as an inline blocker, which has never really been a strength of his. It's 3-1 to 2019, but only just. On to wide receiver, and again, I've tried to give both rosters training camp flexibility to build the best roster possible, and this is another easy win for 2019. It's not even close. Deshaun Jackson should theoretically bring more reliability to the WR2 spot than Torrey Smith, as well as some added speed, and the addition of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is frankly exhilarating. But one could argue in this scenario that Aguilar hadn't moved inside yet, and Jordan Matthews was coming off an 804-yard season, amassing more yardage from the slot than any receiver since 2014 in his stint with the Eagles. But Matthews out of the picture post-trade, I think the edge goes to 2019 because there's more to build around. Deshaun Jackson's on a 3-year deal. Sega can line up with Jeffrey, Ertz and Goddard inside the red zone to present a nightmarish package for defenses to counter. And is there a chance for some depth excellence from the returning Matt Collins? Count me in. We know what Aguilar can do from the slot now, and that trade may have saved a career that was beginning to raise serious question marks. This is a very diverse and complete position group, and what was once a 2017 ideology becomes one of the best receiving groups in the entire league in 2019. Onto the defensive side of the ball, and the Eagles lose Chris Long, regain Vinnie Curry in a cheaper capacity, and replace Marcus Smith with a young pair of draft picks? This is another strong win for 2019. Of course, we can't count the loss of Michael Bennett in this since he only joined 1 year later, and Joe Osman seems to have the coaching staff playing romantic songs on their way home from the facility. Actually, hang on. Derek Barnett's development as he enters year number 3 should naturally be questioned a little bit. Is he a starter, or are there concerns of him burning out as the game goes on? If he's not starting ahead of Curry or Graham, that's a big time issue, although he should start the season as one of the starting defensive ends. Chris Long played over 50% of snaps in the Super Bowl winning campaign, and you're going to have to rely on someone to step up to the plate. Is that going to be Sharif Miller, the rookie out of Penn State, who's still fairly raw and one-dimensional, or will it be Josh Sweat, who seemed to be fairly quiet all of last year? On second thoughts, I'm going to take certain production over potential hindered with question marks. This one goes to 2017, a positional group that had plenty of experience, youth, and upside. If we shift our attention to the interior defensive lineman roles though, it is a hands down win for 2019. The Eagles were really lacking in defensive tackle depth in 2018, and in a big way. Vio and Allen are combined for over 60% of defensive naps between them during the team's illustrious Super Bowl run, and last year saw a complexion of practice squad products and undrafted free agents take those roles. Although Jernigan's injury was a huge blow last year, he now returns to the team on a much cheaper deal and in what looks to be a DT3 capacity behind Malik Jackson, who in my opinion is one of the best 3-tech pass rushers in the entire league, partnering Fletcher Cox, who's coming off a career year. I really like Anthony Rush as well. 6'5", 350 pounds, this undrafted free agent out of UAB reminds me of Brandon Meebane in a lot of ways, and if he can swallow double teams, allow those rapid defensive ends to feast, then hello Sack City. 2019, no question. Now on to linebacker, and if we had examined this position just a couple of weeks ago, the scales would have drastically been in favour of 2017, but alas, we're not. Zach Brown's arrival really pushes this back the other way, and along with LJ Fort, who has some fantastic upside as well as being a dominant special teamer, the unit looks dangerous. The Eagles have increasingly relied on nickel and dime packages, and if they are to do so again, Bradham and Hill is an ultimate thunder and lightning combination that I just can't wait to see. The depth remains the same, but Camu Hill's development goes another year as one of the most underrated aspects of the team. His 13 special teams tackles ranked 13th in the league, and he led the team for the 2nd year in a row, on top of flying around the defensive backfield, making big time tackles. It's close, but I'm all in on 2019. Cornerback is another interesting positional group, but Patrick Robinson wasn't the signing of the offseason in 2017, that was Ronald Darby. If it wasn't for Derby, Robinson would have been left outside being victimised by Alshon Jeffrey all training camp, but the late trade sent him into the nickel where he flourished just as he did for the Colts in 2015. The Eagles are now inundated with depth, and players from 2017 have all for the most part, taken a step forward. Douglas has become a tackling machine and has suddenly bolted in the offseason. Sidney Jones is no longer injured, or so it seems, and Jalen Mills has developed further into an entrenched starter. This is without even mentioning Avonte Maddox and the versatility he brought to the table as a rookie, really getting the Eagles out of a deep hole, and of course it's not mentioning everyone's favourite captain, Captain Cravon. Flooded with more talent than they know what to do with, this is again a great problem to have. Even if I was against the Ronald Darby re-signing, given his weakness in tackling and durability, there is just so much potential on this roster. 2019 runs away with this and doesn't even look back. And finally, at safety, the 2017 safety group was just perfect, wasn't it? Corey Graham wasn't a total liability, Jalen Watkins was a very solid tackler, Rodney McLeod was healthy, and Malcolm Jenkins predictably ran rampant. This may be the closest we get to recreating that dream, but it all depends on McLeod's health. If he can recover well from his ACL or MCL tear, then the 2019 group has the edge here. If he can't, then the signing of both Sendejo and Countess will be absolutely crucial. The Eagles have more depth than they did 1 year ago, rivaling 2017 at least, and substantially more special teams production now that Countess is in the fold, and for that reason alone, I'm giving the edge to 2019. So in conclusion, the only areas where the 2017 roster, at least as far as my opinion this early in the proceedings is concerned, were quarterback and defensive end. The rest of the position, that's running back, O-line, tight end, wide receiver, defensive tackle, linebacker, corner and safety, all go to 2019. So yes, the Eagles have a more dangerous roster than the one that went on to upset the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 52. This season will all come down to the health of Carson Wentz. Can he come back with a vengeance and pick up where he left off, but without the mistakes that came as a consequence of injury, and an off-season where the offense was still built around Foles after a 7-game stretch where it was created for him? Oh, and a new offensive coordinator. This season shouldn't just throw up shades of 2017. It should, in theory, if the football gods provide, give us a football team that will rip through opposition with such little in the way of mercy, reminding us all that the new norm is finally upon us. Let me know what you think, guys. Am I right or wrong? Who do you think had the better offseason? Let me know down in the comments. From myself, Liam Jenkins, again, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and catch your daily dose of Philly sports coverage at phillysportsnetwork.com.